Have you ever tried to access a unique identifier for your connection, only to hit a wall? It can be really frustrating, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into how to get the socket ID of a connection on the client side. I totally get it. You want to track your connections, but when you see null instead of the socket ID, it can feel like you're hitting a brick wall. You're not alone in this. Many developers face similar challenges. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, "How can I get the socket ID of a connection on the client side?" They shared their code, which successfully logs the socket ID on the server side but returns null on the client side. Sound familiar? Let's dig into this together. So what could be causing this issue? The socket ID is generated on the server side when a connection is established, but it may not be directly accessible on the client side in the way you expect. Let's break it down step by step. And don't go anywhere. I've got a crucial tip at the end that will help you successfully retrieve the socket ID on the client side. To retrieve the socket ID on the client side, the user should first ensure they are using the correct property. Instead of accessing socket.iengine.id, they should use socket.id directly after establishing the connection. Next, the user should modify their script to include a callback function that runs after the connection is established. This ensures that the socket ID is available when they try to access it. Additionally, the user should consider using console.log instead of document.write for debugging purposes. This will help them see the socket ID in the browser's console without affecting the page content. Finally, the user should test their updated code in the browser. They can open the developer tools and check the console to see if the socket ID is displayed correctly. Fun fact, did you know that the concept of sockets dates back to the early days of networking? It's amazing how far we've come in connecting devices. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests a different way to get the socket.id on the client side. They recommend using the connect event to ensure the socket is connected before accessing the ID. That's the end of that answer. Let's see another perspective. An alternative approach to get the socket ID on the client side is to use the connect event. This user suggests initializing the socket and then listening for the connect event. Once connected, you can access the socket ID directly. Here's the crucial tip I promised. Always ensure that you're accessing the socket ID after the connection event has been emitted. This will save you a lot of headaches. And there you have it. You should now be able to retrieve the socket ID on the client side without any issues. Remember, understanding how connections work is key. If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button for more tips, and don't miss our next video on advanced socket techniques.